In, I guess, what you would call bombshell testimony, which, to be honest, probably isn't surprising, Michael Cohen, the star witness for the prosecution in the Trump trial in New York, admitted that he stole $60,000 from the Trump organization in the actual payment that allegedly was to pay back Stormy Daniels. Now, I'm sorry. Even CNN has a legal analyst explaining how could Trump have known what was going on with this money, that it was going to Stormy Daniels, if Cohen was actually stealing large portions of it. So there's a bit of confusion right now. Even I was confused because you're getting a bunch of different reports on different numbers. Cohen, and I'll break it down for you real simple, right? Not to bury the lead. Cohen said he needed $50,000 to reimburse an IT company. So they include this in a large lump sum payment he's getting. He goes to that company and apparently he hands them a brown paper bag with $20,000 in it and says, take it or leave it, pockets $30,000. And then as part of that $50,000, the Trump organization actually reimbursed additional tax liability, assuming the $50,000 was going to that company. They said, here's extra money in the event that you actually had to pay tax on it, because they were paying Cohen. It wasn't necessarily a reimbursement. It was payment for the job he did. And it was basically them knowing he was paying an IT company. So the $30,000 on top that he should not have gotten also went into his pocket. And this is where CNN began reporting the $60,000 number. So this absolutely destroys the case that they have against Donald Trump. He didn't even know he was being robbed. Now they're arguing, no, he didn't know he was being robbed, but he did know that he was paying off Stormy Daniels, I guess. So we're going to break this down. In this trial, apparently they brought in Cohen's own lawyer, Rob Costello, and who was like the prosecution will not let him answer any questions. They keep an objection. He gets into it. The judge gets pissed. This whole thing sounds like bad television. Oh boy. So we'll talk about that. And then we've got USA Today calling on Joe Biden to resign to stop Trump. Yeah. And then there actually is really big news. The president of Iran and the Iranian foreign minister died in a helicopter crash over the weekend. Many people are speculating assassination. Some are saying this is just like Franz Ferdinand. Israel denies any involvement. From the photos we've seen, it looks like the helicopter just crashed on a foggy day, which does happen. But considering this is coming a month after rocket fire exchange between Israel and Iran, there's a lot of people who don't believe in coincidences. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some other news. We got some crazy Kid Rock news, apparently. But before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. It's the best coffee you'll ever have. At least that's what I've been told. You can check out Appalachian Nights, everybody's favorite. You got Rise with Roberto Jr. That's a light roast, second best. And then you got Stand Your Grounds Medium and Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice Experience. But don't forget to also go to timcast.com and click Join Us. So that way you can hang out in the members-only call-in show coming up at 10 p.m. tonight. After the shows on Monday through Thursday, we actually have you, the members, call in. You submit questions. The members vote on which question they want to come onto the show. And then y'all actually talk to us and our guests live on the show on timcast.com. So become a member because we rely on your membership to keep this show up and running. It's how we do this. If you think the work we do is good and you want to see more of it, timcast.com. Click that Join Us button, get involved in Discord server, and join our after show. You can also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Dr. Michael Rectenwald.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay, so I'm Michael Rectenwald, and former NYU professor, author, and now Libertarian candidate for president. It's
right
great
on.
to be here, man.
Well, there you go. And we got the LP National Conventions coming up this week. When does it start? Does it start Thursday?
Starts Thursday, but the fireworks begin, I should say, Saturday.
We will be there on Friday.
Okay.
We'll be doing the show from the convention Friday night.
Awesome.
And this is sounding like it may be the biggest party in politics. I mean, like physical party, like literal party, not political party. Like
Right.
The amount of people who are planning on being there and the rumors that are flying around, Trump is going to be there, RFK is going to be there. I mean, this is going to be wild.
RFK.
You're going to be there?
I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be there. Trump is going to be there. Thomas Massey's going to be there. And there's a special surprise guest that I can't reveal tonight. It's the biggest guest of all, in my opinion.
It's going to be interesting.
Very interesting.
I also think, don't be surprised if just a bunch of other political commentators and personalities end up showing up because of how big this is becoming.
It's going to be huge.
Once they said Trump was going to be there, then if you are in the political space, if you're a commentator and you are not in D.C., you are missing out and you'll be sitting at home with FOMO. But we'll talk about that later as well. We got Phil hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. How you doing, Hannah Claire?
I'm good. It's fun to be back. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for scnr.com. It's Scanner News. Follow all their work at Timcast News on Instagram and Twitter. Hi, Serge.
Hello, Hannah Claire. Hey, guys. Let's get started.
I can't believe this is the news today. Michael Cohen admitted to stealing from the Trump organization in the actual reimbursement they claim was supposed to go to Stormy Daniels. I will break this down very quickly for you. Cohen says he needs to reimburse this IT company, Redfinch, $50,000. They say, okay, we'll add $50,000 to your total pay package. So Cohen is a lawyer working for the Trump organization. He says, here's my invoice. This is for reimbursements. And they say, okay, we'll give you $50K. Michael Cohen testifies. He takes that money, puts $20K in a brown paper bag, hands it to the IT company and is like, take it or leave it, puts $30K in his pocket. And then the Trump organization says, by the way, we're putting on another $180,000 in your total pay for potential tax liability. They had no idea what they were giving this man money for. The argument from the prosecution is that Trump knew this was going to Cohen for paying off Stormy Daniels, among other expenses. But how I don't believe that is believable beyond a reasonable doubt or even plausible, considering Cohen ripped them off for $60K. Now, a lot of people are confused at the $60K number, as was I. In this whole pay package, the Independent actually breaks this down. So here we have the story. Michael Cohen admits to stealing from the Trump organization while clawing back Stormy Daniels' hush money. Of course, all of the more left-wing outlets are still going to try and make the claim that the Trump organization knew they were paying up this $130,000 reimbursement, which I doubt. So here's what they say. The reimbursements to Cohen for the hush money payment, which Mr. Trump paid out in monthly $35,000 installments in 2017, totaled $420,000. As part of the reimbursement plan, Cohen had also billed the Trump organization $50,000 plus taxes for money that Cohen was supposed to pay to the tech firm Redfinch. He gave Redfinch a brown paper bag filled with $20K in cash, still owed the vendor $30 for the contract, he testified. The initial payment was only enough to placate him for the time being. He said, I still needed his service and I needed his availability. You stole from the Trump organization, defense attorney Todd Blanche asked. Yes, sir, Cohen replied. Mr. Blanche also asked whether he has ever pleaded guilty to larceny or paid back any of the money to the Trump organization that he stole from them. He did not. So basically what ends up happening is this. The reimbursement payments ultimately included $130,000 to Ms. Daniels, $50K to Redfinch, $60K bonus, and $180,000 to compensate for taxes. There's only one way this makes sense. If these are reimbursements, you don't pay tax liability on them. Okay? So let's just play this game. Cast Brew Coffee, right? We own Cast Brew Coffee, but it is a different company that does different things. Timcast Media Group. In the event there is any kind of crossover and Cast Brew ends up covering a cost that ultimately should be the responsibility of Timcast, Timcast does a flat reimbursement. Let's say it's $100. They say, here's the $100 back. You paid at the time. Let's say it's a guy walks up and says this parking bill for your vehicle is $100, and they're only Cast Brew has the money on hand and say, okay, we'll reimburse us and we'll cover the cost of the vehicle. We don't pay taxes on that. It's a reimbursement for a business expense. The only way this makes sense, in my view, they gave $180,000 tax compensation to Cohen because they had no idea what any of the money was for. I explained this a couple weeks ago. I said, I bet Cohen was invoicing the Trump organization, not the administration, the organization, and they were just paying it out. They're a multi-billion-dollar organization, and here's the lawyer with an invoice to say, yeah, whatever. They didn't itemize it. And so when he says, oh, I need another 180 for taxes, they're like, sure. I think it's fair to say, if that is true, it's not just $60K he stole, but the 130 on top. They had no idea what they were paying for. They thought they were paying services. So where the $60K number comes from is what we can say. The media, the court, there's been no ruling yet on whether Trump is innocent or guilty, although I think everybody who's paying attention thinks it's absurd and he's innocent. But what they're saying is by taking the $30K, putting it in his pocket, and then getting the $50K expense, getting tax liability on top, which is $30K, and then putting that in his pocket, he lied to get a $60,000 bill on top of the money that he was actually owed. So There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see how this trial. I'll say one last thing. I really thought there was a possibility that on the last day of the prosecution's case, they were going to slam the piece of paper on the table where it's like, I, Donald Trump, hereby request Michael Cohen reimburse Stormy Daniels so that nobody finds out, blah, 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 signed Donald Trump, notarized in the state of New York, something like that. Like, here's the bombshell. Not only was there no bomb, the bombshell was for the defense.
Yeah.
So this is laughably insane. There's already conversations about why he's not going to prison for grand larceny, having admitted he stole this money. And the crazy thing is, even CNN is now saying that this is a worse crime than anything Trump's been accused of, and they're having him testify against Trump. One of the craziest bits of legal analysis that I saw so far was, never have we seen a prosecutor have a felony criminal case flip to try and get a misdemeanor.
I mean, it's almost too bad that he didn't say, yes, I paid them a brown paper bag and then I carried out everything else in a canvas sack with a dollar sign painted on it, right? Like, he's blatantly stealing, and he's already been convicted of campaign finance violations. Like, he has had to defend his credibility on the stand before. I heard a couple talking heads try and defend, since doing his testimony, a former lawyer of Cohen's was on MSNBC saying, well, let me remind you that Donald Trump is on trial and he doesn't have to defend his credibility at all. In fact, the documents corroborate it. But I think the defense has done a pretty good job of pointing out kind of how this key witness, this star witness, is not reliable. And in fact, he presents lie after lie after lie. I mean, it's not the smoking gun case they seem to pretend it was.
Let's operate from, so this $60K theft, this is the wild thing. It's from the prosecution's perspective. If the prosecution is correct and Donald Trump actually did the things they claim he did, then it is a fact Michael Cohen stole $60,000. Let's take a view from the perspective of the defense. They had no idea what Cohen was doing, and Cohen's own former, they say lawyer, Costello says he was his lawyer, but he's arguing it's a legal advisor. Their defense is that Cohen did this of his own volition without them knowing. If that's true, Cohen stole the $130,000 by lying to the Trump organization about what he needed the money for, and the Trump organization just blindly paid invoices. I will stress that again. I have worked for large corporations. I got a story for you. I worked with a guy. We had a 3-month contract. I said, thank you and have a nice day. At the end of the year, some 9 months later, they told me, in passing, someone from accounting was like, oh, we got your invoices paid up. And I was like, invoices? And they're like, for your contractor? And I was like, contractor? And they were like, yeah, so-and-so. And I was just like, yo, that guy hasn't worked with me in like 9 months. And they were like, he's been invoicing us every single month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It's a typical white-collar corporate crime. This goes on all the time. I predict that Cohen will not only not get prosecuted, he'll be hired by MSNBC.
As a legal analyst and financial crimes expert.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I have a problem following all of the stuff going on with Trump, the legal stuff, because there's so many different cases. And to be honest with you, I don't find any of it particularly compelling because I just feel like it's all just things being thrown at him to see what would stick. And I feel like that's what the average normie kind of does.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the average person is tuned into this. Like, you have to really hate Donald Trump or really, really love Donald Trump to go ahead and pay attention to this. This isn't moving the dial. This isn't convincing anyone that doesn't already feel that they, that hasn't already made up their mind. They're not moving the needle at all. And I think this hurts the credibility of both New York, and I think that it filters through to the rest of the government.
Yeah,
just the overall.
This is the party that's people are going to look at this as extremely partisan, and it's nothing. And this is a Democrat-run operation. That's how they're going to look at it.
And there's reports from the courtroom that the jury's tired, right? That they're starting to shift in their seat. They're getting more restless. I mean, we're in like week 5 or 6 of this case. At a certain point, everyone can see the writing on the walls.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with what you were saying, Michael. Anytime you can dunk on Democrats, I'm on board. Because I really don't like the Democrats. They've really, in my opinion, they've dropped the ball on a lot of things that didn't need to be dropped on. That being said, like, I just don't see how the government doesn't kind of get smeared overall, because I forget what it was. There was something that just came out last week.
The phone call?
Which phone call?
There was there was this recording played in court last week that they said.
No, not. This isn't about court. This is about something else.
Okay.
Oh, it was the stuff about the Fauci stuff. The fact that everyone knew that it was actually
Gain of
Right.
function.
That was gain of
this
function
harms,
research. Yeah.
like right now, the population is significantly skeptical of institutions, whether they
Totally.
be the government, whether it be it goes through whether it's the government, the judicial system, like. There has never been a time in my life when the institutions have been more suspect by the population, and the institutions have earned every bit of that suspicion. Everything from the financial markets to the government to the judicial system to the elections, to the world, obviously the World Health Organization, but the United States Health, or the NIH here in the U.S. Or whatever it's called, Center for Disease Control, whatever.
CDC.
Yeah, CDC. So, but the point being, at a time when the population has never been more skeptical of the government, they're doing this garbage stuff that isn't gonna go anywhere.
Let's jump to this from the Post Millennial. CNN legal analyst says Michael Cohen stealing from Trump org is a more serious crime than Trump's alleged falsification of business docs. I'd say Democrats have lost CNN, but they lost them weeks ago.
Yeah.
This court case has been so abysmal for the anti-Trump activists that even CNN, Fareed Zakaria, saying this case would never be brought against anybody whose name wasn't Donald Trump. And I hate how he framed it that way. Please don't use the double negatives. Just say the only reason they brought this case is because they are going after Donald Trump. But they don't want to necessarily cross that bridge, but they'll get close enough. Take a look at this. Post Millennial says, CNN's Ellie Honig says Michael Cohen is guilty of more serious crimes in New York than those alleged against Trump. The fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud is a more serious of a crime than falsifying business records. I want to stress this again. I believe, based on the testimony we've already heard from Costello, that, and what we know about Michael Cohen, the story is that Cohen wanted to pay off Stormy Daniels without anyone knowing. So he took a home equity loan to do it so nobody would know what he did. It doesn't make sense that Trump went to his lawyer and says, can you take care of this and get an NDA signed? Because that's normal contractual work. You go to a lawyer, you say, someone's got a bad story, get him to sign the NDA and pay him a settlement. Why would Trump or anyone need to hide that fact that they're doing something like this? The fact that Cohen took out a home equity loan, admitted to doing this, suggests he was trying to conceal what he was doing. That would mean it's not just $60K stole from Trump. It's not, I was wrong. I said in a previous segment it was $130K on top. It's the tax liability on top of the $130K. So we're talking about $130 stolen without the Trump organization knowing what they're giving him the money for, $30,000 because he pocketed it and didn't give the money to the IT company, and then the tax liability for both payments. Tax liability on $160K, which is going to be what, like $70K or something like this. Cohen stole hundreds of thousands of dollars if the defense is telling the truth that Trump had no idea. And why would he? He's the head of this big organization. He's not even dealing with accounts payable. Could you? Right. This idea is absolutely insane. That I guarantee you, Trump's got 80 lawyers or more with all these different organizations, all these different properties. He doesn't know which lawyer he's dealing with.
He's just a functionary with Cohen. Yeah. He's nobody to Trump.
Exactly. And so the idea is that Trump personally goes, no, Cohen was taking care of it because I think he's trying to butter himself up to the Trump administration, or to the Trump organization. I keep saying administration because he did become president. And I think the reason was Cohen was able to steal money through invoices and he didn't want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg.
So he kept the story going as well.
Yeah, I think for Cohen, it's like, what's your incentive to pay off Stormy Daniels? He could eventually, if he pulls it off, this heist behind the scenes, make himself look good by saying, I took care of this for you. Don't worry about it. I don't know if that's actually the case. I wonder if he's just trying to protect Trump to protect himself.
Yeah.
The longer the Trump train keeps going, he gets to latch on and suckle from the teat without them realizing it. Let me play this clip from CNN for you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
The way this was raised and addressed on direct is what Julia Louis-Dreyfus would call yada yada yada. I mean, here's what Michael Cohen said.
I think that was George Costanza.
No.
Was it? It was Elaine.
It was Elaine.
Really?
Yeah. It was Elaine. Like, yada yada yada.
Let's debate it longer. I like that.
But here's the direct testimony, the way Michael Cohen explained what happened.
It's
Quote,
actually a girl that Costanza was dating. But okay, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, there you go. Michael Cohen explained this whole thing, quote, that's what was owed, and I didn't feel Mr. Trump deserved the difference. That's a lot different than I stole $60,000 from my boss on the transaction at the heart of this case. And by the way, the fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business records.
This is one of those.
This is grand larceny.
Yeah.
This is
Could he
years
go to
in
jail
prison.
for like 15 years?
Yes.
If he was convicted for this?
Absolutely insane. I can't.
He described it apparently as, well, I looked at it as a form of self-help, which makes me wonder about any other business interaction Cohen has been involved with the Trump organization forever, right? I mean, again, he is convicted of campaign finance issues. He's lied under oath. He's not a trustworthy guy. And on top of that, like now he's openly admitting, oh, well, during this time I was stealing. What else did
I'd
you
like
steal?
to see. I bet you if I was one of his clients, I'd be looking at everything, man. This guy's a total fraud.
Take a look at this from Paul Ingracia. I'm wondering if you could try and fact check this real quick, Hannah Claire, to pull this up, because this looks like Paul is sharing direct testimony, but I'd like to have the actual transcript. Blanche, did you mean it when you said revenge is a dish best served cold? Cohen, yes, sir. You were willing to lie under oath if it affects your personal life, correct? Cohen says, I don't understand your question. Blanche, you testified under oath months ago that you were willing to lie if it affects your personal life, correct? Cohen says, yes, sir. So I'm asking the same question to you now. Would you still be willing to lie if it affects your personal life? Objection. Objection sustained. Blanche asks again. Would you be willing to lie if it affects you personally? Cohen says, yes, sir. So this came out during the trial, of course, so I'm assuming it is correct, but we will get a fact check if we can find direct testimony on that, just to make sure we have it right. But I'm sorry, Cohen is as degenerate as you can get.
Yeah, he's a total degenerate. I mean, the guy's a complete fraud. I would think that this is his whole MO through life. So, I mean, I'm sure Trump's not the only person he's defrauded like this.
We'll shift a little bit because, Dr. Rectenwald, you want to be president.
Yes, sir.
How would you? One of the things I want to know is that first, I think Trump is on track to win right now. That being said, as someone who is running for president, how would you deal with these abuses of government that we've seen, not just in this case, but first and foremost, likely, I should say, with cases like this, but also we can go way down the line with FISA, Julian Assange. What is a libertarian president going to do because with things like this?
You mean with this kind of abuse by the state, the outrageous prosecutions and so forth? I think this goes down to we need to boil down these institutions to the local level, and that we would eventually privatize all this. This shouldn't, the state shouldn't be involved. That's my ultimate aim. But I think in the meanwhile, you de-weaponize these departments immediately, like the DOJ and the New York Attorney General office. This is unbelievable.
But does this mean prosecutions for these people who are acting corruptly?
I think so. Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't they? Because they're corrupt and they're abusing power and they're thieves. First of all.
Sorry, Gateway Pundit's reporting the same thing, and they're saying that Paul Iglesias was live reporting from the courtroom.
Okay.
He was sitting in there, so
there you go.
You can verify the exchange.
They're as big a thieves as Cohen. I mean, these people are just, they're robbing us to engage in their own vendettas here.
I wonder. I saw this really interesting tweet from the Hodge twins. I was surprised to see this tweet because no one saw this. No one's expecting this. They asked if anyone thought a civil war was coming, and I was like, oh wow,
it's a new concept for you, right?
Yeah, I never thought about that, and it was interesting. But I bring that up because there's a reason why it's not. We on the show has talked about the prospect. If Donald Trump gets elected in November, and I think based on all standard metrics, it looks like that's going to be the case. But there is shadow campaign. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, we want to see, I want to see, I know probably everyone in this room wants to see accountability for corrupt government, which is which is a bit nebulous, but that ultimately means firings, criminal prosecutions where warranted.
Yeah, starting with COVID. Let's take it to the COVID issue. I mean, we need prosecution. We need investigations into what happened here. The gain of function research, all the lies and dissembling about that, paying Echo Health Alliance. And
I think when they were, correct me if I'm wrong, gain of function research was banned in the
United States under Obama.
And
That's
then
why they did it in China.
But
so-
they actually still were keeping it up at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
So, okay. First and foremost, I think that's going to be a product of Congress in concert with the next administration, which we absolutely want to see. My fear, however, is that one, this is a fear a lot of people have, especially this is a reason why a lot of people are leaning libertarian, because Trump hired people like John Bolton. Trump had bad hires.
Very bad.
And while I still think he did an overwhelmingly good job, there is a concern that he's going to try and negotiate a deal which results in no prosecutions. I mean, he was the one saying, lock Hillary up, and then gets elected and says, we don't want to do that.
Right.
I'm hoping that his attitude has changed quite a bit. Phil's
Yes,
smiling.
that's right.
Look,
but
man,
they put him in a compromised position so that he is at a place where they could push him to negotiate.
He's hilarious and everything, but that man will make a deal in a heartbeat, in a second. If you think that Donald Trump isn't going to cut a deal, any deal that makes him look good,
say, do you know about his book?
that gets
Yeah, right.
him into the good graces of Democrats or of the establishment, because at the end of the day, like I would love to see him go in there and actually be the bull in the china shop like everyone talks about. And I'd love to see him go in there and be mad and want to get revenge. And I'd love to see all that stuff because I want to see, cabinet level bureaucracy is just eviscerated, right?
Yeah.
But let's just remember who Donald Trump is. He is going to cut a deal as soon as he can.
But shouldn't he?
Maybe not, because the cases are getting weaker all the time. So, I mean, he may be
winning.
He should realize he's in a better negotiating position than he was.
Well, I think Trump has pushed back against the deep state for the past 4 years. And I think he made the mistake in his first term of thinking, now that I'm the president, they're going to fall in line and I'll have to work with these people. But he did not realize what he was up against.
No, not a clue.
I think now he probably has gained enough leverage to where he probably will still cut a deal of some sort. But I think we're going to I don't think that when it comes to any kind of conflict, most of the time you're not looking at absolute victory and claiming everything. Right. Even if you win the battlefield's destroyed, the buildings are burned, and there's losses.
Scorched earth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to lose resources on your side. I wonder if, I mentioned the Hodge twins asking about civil war. Civil war is good for communists. This country fighting itself is good for the authoritarians who can then use, oligarch-style tactics of seizing control in the chaos. And this is what we see with revolutions and how totalitarian regimes rise. So I wonder if it actually would be better for us if Trump gets the upper hand, but does cut a deal that prevents some kind of national divorce or collapse. It means we don't get everything we want, but I'm hoping that it means we get enough of what we need.
The enough of what you need kind of thing, that'd be really great. I know that I've been harping on this, and I'm probably going to keep harping on it. We're really, really, really in debt. And unless we get the economy going in a way that growing in a manner which outpaces the inflation and that will only slow the problem down. That's not going to fix the problem. Like growing, like you can't, I don't think that we can actually grow our way out of this. You do have to cut, especially like entitlements. But that's the thing. It's entitlements. It has to be like the unfunded liabilities, your Social Security, the stuff that they have to pay for, not the discretionary stuff, the stuff that they have to pay for.
What?
$1 trillion every 100 days now, man. $1 trillion. I saw this. I tweeted this. 1 trillion seconds ago was 30,000 years before Christ. Okay, and we're putting $1 trillion every 100 days is added to our existing 35 trillion now, and over 150 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
Just real quick as an aside, if 10 years ago you were like, instead of putting $100 in the bank, I'm gonna put it in my Bitcoin account. Oh boy, you'd have a lot of money.
10 years
Like,
ago?
was it like $3,000? But at $100 10 years ago, is it $3,000 a Bitcoin now? Or no, it's $6,000.
No,
Sorry.
Yeah, it's more.
More than that.
What would Trump concede? I would hope he wouldn't concede like putting these people on trial for COVID, and I hope he wouldn't concede the possibility of even entertaining a bill like Massey put forward to end the Fed. That's a massive.
Trump's not gonna end the Fed.
I know it's largely symbolic at this point.
Yep.
But if it starts gaining traction, as libertarianism gains traction in the public mind, I think it could happen.
And the Fed is like the shining golden star in the sky.
It's
And-
virtue signaling for libertarians. Okay, we know that. So
Yeah, Trump's not going to do that.
I know. Well-
but I do think Trump may forego criminal prosecutions of higher-ranking individuals, and this is what they always do. Remember, in Russiagate, they got that lawyer. What was his name? Kleinsmith? Was that who it was?
I think so.
They get some low-level lawyer on falsifying an email, and then the people who are actually running the show, having these big meetings,
they're
they
awful.
get away with it. And that's a mistake Trump made. I'm hoping Trump learned his lesson, but then again, there's the possibility that Trump is looking at the collateral damage in keeping this conflict going, which ultimately results in absurdities like in 2020, the Boston Globe reporting that war game, that Democrat war game, where they suggested the West Coast secede from the Union if Trump were to win a second term. I think we want to avoid things like that at all costs, because as much as people would love that emotional satisfaction of like, let the commies leave the country.
yeah.
The communists need to fracture the United States so they can steal power. In the chaos during revolutions, you look at how communism comes to power. They need chaos. They need fractured confidence so they can start seizing institutions.
Yeah, they did that in Tsarist Russia. That's exactly what they did.
So we in order to avoid all that, what if Trump says, I'm going to win, but it means these people go off and live on an island somewhere and they don't go to jail?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but you know,
Which island do you think?
the Epstein Island.
I mean, I figured that was implied. No, hopefully not. I mean, hopefully he says those people are getting locked up and we're going to send the Marines to go find them.
Maybe an island you could sink.
Or
yes, if we get enough people on it, you remember they can't sink.
There was a congressperson that was worrying about an island tipping over.
Tipping over for having too many.
We could send everybody over there.
Yeah, right.
There was an island I saw, totally as an aside. It's like a small island that's only like half square mile, but it's got like 5,000 people living on something ridiculous like that. And anyway, I think we kind of like got to the point on that one. We can come back to it, I guess. But let's do this first. The first question is, will Trump even become the president? We have this story from the New York Post. Trump demands drug test for Biden before first presidential debate seconded.
I swear Phil made this joke the other night when we announced the debates, or someone on here said this, that we had to screen Biden for uppers and see what's going
definitely
on.
he's on Adderall or something like it.
I got to shout out that viral tweet because I don't remember who I don't know the account who said it because I just saw it going around, and they said it was a CNN tweet saying the debate June 27th between Biden and Trump is on. And they said, we are about to see the Manhattan Project of psychoactive stimulants on this night. Yes.
And a shortage of Adderall in the city. Yeah.
Oh, no. It's going to be something new.
Yeah, that's probably right.
They're going to have like Biden. There's going to be like an IV tube going out of Biden off stage.
Right.
And
that's why he doesn't want any audience because, we could see just how much of a prop he is.
He'll be booed.
Yeah, that too.
I think his support is so low that he can't have an audience. Otherwise, Trump's going to say something like the economy's bad, and people are going to be like, yeah. And then Biden's going to say, Bidenomics is working, man, and boo.
Yeah.
I think they. I don't think that they will be saying Bidenomics. I think they moved away from that term. It's a little on the radioactive side.
Trump will say it.
Well, Trump will say it, definitely, yes. But I don't see Biden talking about it because the Biden economy is not. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the cost of living stuff, your groceries, your rent and stuff like that,
Right.
those numbers are just out of hand.
Unbelievable.
Just unbelievable.
They're nothing to brag
But
about,
compared
right?
to 2019 particularly, if Trump is like,
But
go ahead.
I think the inflation is always a little lags behind the administration that's in. So, for example, Trump did had created for the CARES Act $6 trillion worth of new money that was put into the economy, which definitely has added up to inflation. It's definitely added to the inflation.
I mean, he's a Republican.
He's a Republican doing this.
Democrats don't lie about their economic spending, and Republicans lie about their economic policies. That's just the way that it goes.
He's absolutely contributed to this.
Sure.
And then,
But I think it still remained bad under Biden, and then everything anyone would need to combat this didn't accommodate it, right?
Yeah.
Cost of living so expensive, wages aren't keeping up, people are suffering. Every metric with the economy, if you're a young person starting out, is bad. I think the problem, like Biden's going to face during the debates, is Trump can stay laser focused on the big weaknesses in his administration. He can talk about the Afghanistan withdrawal. He can talk about the economy. He can talk about the southern border. And I don't know that Biden is going to be able to coherently defend his record and also launch a counterattack against this.
If I don't know that Trump is going to actually make it about economics or monetary policy, because that's not Trump's wheelhouse either. But there was that video that went around 2 weeks ago or whatever, 3 weeks ago of Biden's lead economic advisor or whatever, completely incapable of articulating why we borrow money from the Fed. Now, not that I can articulate it better, but I yell at a stick for a living. That guy's head of the president's monetary policy, advisor. And the idea that you can just keep printing money, the modern monetary theory that they're operating under, that's still fairly new when it comes to monetary theory.
A lot of spending isn't actual spending. So it's like, let's say I've got $1,000 in my bank account, and someone who works here is like, hey, we need to get the lawn mowed. I can say, I'm going to increase your spending limit to $100. And they go, okay, I didn't give them any money.
Right.
They then call a landscaper who says, can you mow the lawn? The landscaper comes, mows the lawn, and sends us a bill for $100. That bill comes due. So a lot of spending is like that. So we're adding to the national debt. Yeah. Exactly. When we're saying like, okay, we're good for the money. We're the U.S. government. Go do the work, and then we'll pay you later.
We'll send $60 billion to Ukraine for aid, for military aid. It's not spent yet, obviously.
Yeah. Of course. And what that basically means is we're going to tell all these weapons manufacturers, we're going to tell these PMCs, do it, bill us later.
Right.
And then this is what drives inflation. We're like, you know what I love about the IRS? What is it? 87,000 agents they're doing?
New ones.
The reason they're doing this is because they need the money to pay the debt. They're like, look, we're not going to get money from millionaires and billionaires. That's a leftist lie. There's not enough millionaires and billionaires to actually get enough to move the budget in any meaningful way. But you get $100 from every single American, and now we're talking quite a bit of money. You go after millionaires and billionaires, they're going to file lawsuits, they're going to challenge you, they're going to file claims, and you're only going to end up getting what? Maybe tens of millions of dollars?
A lot of people don't realize that the so-called 1% are actually paying a lot of taxes already. And they're certainly not the bounty that these leftists think that they are. That's where all the money is at. That's absolutely not true.
They think that the way that leftists talk about billionaires and stuff, it's as if they think it's Scrooge McDuck.
Right.
He's got a vault full of gold coins, and then they go and just swim around in it. And if they just tax them, if you tax them enough, then you'll give enough money to the government to make the debt go away and pay for everything. And then they'll also still have a vault of money that they can swim in.
Yeah. But this is all premised on the idea that just by virtue of making a profit, you're a criminal, that this is actually theft. Yeah. So it really does go back to Marxism, the idea that they're robbing the workers at the point of production, exploiting them, and that's where your surplus value comes from. And then that's why the state is necessary.
Yeah.
To intermediate between the two forces, the two bodies.
The state, the labor theory of value is a load of garbage.
Totally.
It doesn't matter how much you shovel garbage. It's just garbage for almost everybody. Like, it doesn't matter how much labor you put into shoveling that. The value of something is decided by the person making the purchase.
Yes.
It's just the way that it goes.
Going back to this drug test thing, it's really funny is that I tweeted this. I tweeted drug test before the debates. And I got someone who was like, how about we test for felonies? And it's like, okay, well, there's no felonies. I don't know what.
Also,
Okay,
test for
But-
felonies.
But like they're making a point, like, yeah, well, what did Trump do? And
Okay,
I'm like, my guy, Trump's probably on drugs too. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
we're talking about an advantage in a debate, not a total character assessment here. right?
but I think the idea that Trump is going to have something inside, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they say he's a germaphobe. They say he's kind of like a straight edge guy. So
Yeah. He
probably
doesn't
not,
drink.
especially if he's called. Yeah, he doesn't drink. There were rumors that he was taking some kind of uppers at some
Yeah.
point or whatever. I don't know that that's true, but I'm like, okay, well, if Trump's willing to do it, Biden, Biden's going to be hopped up on goofballs.
See, I want Trump to come out and be like, sure, we can do a test, but I'm only taking Alpha Brain or whatever Rogan supplement is. Like,
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Some
They do a
supplement
commercial?
that's, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if they've responded yet, but the Biden administration is going to act like, Trump is this terrible person for suggesting this, and how dare he, insulting character. And the reality is they insult Trump's character all the time. They say terrible things about him. Like, we're just in a mudslinging phase of politics. Neither one of these people are going to have anything interesting to say. But it is notable that Biden's team, when they released this video, like saying, "Oh, well, I challenge you to debate," you've pointed out several times there are so many jump cuts. If you listen to it played by NPR, you're like, "Wow, this Biden sounds very different than other Biden who I heard the last week." It's when you see the jump cuts, you're like, "Oh, this isn't just a continuous take."
When you're editing audio, you can use faders and dissolve. What are they called?
Crossfade.
Crossfade, and this blends the two tracks together. There's also something called room tone. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
get
do this
the exact,
Well, what you do when you're producing a video is you record the room for 30 seconds to a minute with no one talking, so that you have what's called room tone, and then you can play that anytime there's a jump, so it sounds seamless.
Yes.
And they didn't even do that for Joe Biden. They just jumped.
they did a really bad job. I mean, they could have at least cut it from the side, moved the camera somehow, but obviously they cut that so badly.
If I was Trump, what I would do is I would have someone take a single word from a bunch of different speeches so that it's, I, Trump, hereby accept your debate. And he'll be like, I beat
That
you
would
with the
be
jump
great.
cuts, Biden.
Do you think that they were doing that stylistically because that's how a lot of YouTubers
No way.
do their videos?
Nope.
No, it's just that they can't get a singular.
So-
Because I feel like
complete
you
sentence out.
could get but I feel like if you had a competent editor, you could edit that.
No, so there's a technique that they do where they have two cameras set up, one wide, one long. And that way, when they press record on both cameras, no matter how many times you mess up, they can do this thing where it jumps forward and jumps back. And that's what Biden was doing when he's like, look here, and then it gets closer, and then he says something, and then it goes further away, and then further. It's a technique for, in the least amount of time, trying to get the sentences you need. If they had a single shot of Biden, you could zoom in, and then but it hurts the resolution. If you shoot in 4K, you can down scale to like 1080, and you don't need two cameras anymore. That's what they used to do. There's no way to edit that seamless, because if Joe Biden's going, oh, well, what was the line again? Like, he's moving, and so no matter what, you're gonna have weird fades and weird jittery movements. So you just can't do it. I think the reality is that was the best they could get.
That's
It was
amazing.
14 seconds, and it had 5 jump cuts in it. Meanwhile, Trump goes on stage for 2.5 hours, and it's like, I don't need a teleprompter. We're gonna put the wind blew it away, and then he just talks.
Yeah.
He just goes for it, and it is funny.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up
I mean,
comedian.
he's hilarious. There's no question about that.
It's very different, and I think that's the problem between the two candidates, right? The difference is stark. And if you were a Democrat analyst right now, if you were advising this campaign, I don't know what advice you could give Biden if this really is just mental decline, right? There's no coaching him out of that.
Well, we have this story from the Post-Millennial. USA Today, with tremendous advice to Joe Biden, says to save America from Trump, Biden must drop out of the race. No, please don't. Biden, please, you're our only hope. You have to stay.
I want Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee. I hope that's clear to everyone.
Right. In an op-ed published on Monday titled, How Can Biden Save America from Trump's Return to the White House? Drop out of the race. USA Today urged for Biden to drop out for the good of the nation and the party. Jeremy Mayer, an associate professor at George Mason University Schar School of Policy and Government, wrote for the outlet that Biden and GOP presumptive nominee Donald Trump are the two oldest among the most unpopular candidates in our history. The Republican Party, the piece stated, is stuck with former President Donald Trump unless he dies or is incapacitated medically, adding that he may have to win to stay out of jail. But there is a way for President Joe Biden to step aside, to voluntarily remove himself for the good of the nation and the party. He sincerely and accurately believed that he was the Democrat with the best chance to beat Trump. Now he is one of the few national Democrats who could get Trump reelected. No, wait, don't. Biden, you're our only hope. You must run.
See, I think they keep Biden alive and they want to push him down our throats because it's a ritual humiliation practice. I mean, they want to say, look how much power we have. We can put this guy who can't even walk and talk in the presidency, and it's very cynical. And that's like, this will make you realize we can do anything here to you.
That's the black-pilled view of it.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to give the white-pilled view of it. And that is, the Democrats have nothing. They are so flaccid right now. Joe Biden is the best they have to offer. Name me one Democrat that they could put up right now. Everyone's going to say Gavin Newsom, but I disagree. Maybe in the future, but right now, he's weaker than Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
He's real bad now.
I mean, his policies are outrageous. California is a complete wasteland.
It's like, if you want to understand California, watch the new Fallout show on Amazon, which is in California, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's indistinguishable, if you were to ask me. I'm kidding, by the way. But the narrative around California's failure, Newsom can't do it. Come on, give me another Democrat. Who do we got?
I can name Democrats, but I don't think there is anyone.
No, name me a Democrat who actually stands a chance of beating Trump.
That's the thing. Like,
well,
I
with
can't
Russian
think of
help,
anyone
Hillary could.
Okay.
I've heard Michelle Obama is a popular choice.
So Hillary is less popular than Biden.
Yeah.
Let's say, I don't know, Buttigieg, and the argument is he's moderately disliked, but they could shadow campaign him into the presidency. Maybe. I think the reality is Biden is there because the Democratic Party, because the Uniparty has evaporated. It is a withered, feral ghoul on the ground struggling to move.
It's time for libertarianism and libertarians to move in and seize the day.
Do you think they will?
It would be.
Well, I think we're going to be in the conversation more than ever. We're going to be pushing the Overton window toward liberty. We're going to get our principles and our views out.
But do you think you'll convert former Democratic voters to libertarianism?
Well, they have to go through a lot of decompression and other types of. That's the hardest batch to get. But I think Republicans will fall off into libertarianism thanks to once we show them. Here's the things that would really benefit America first, and this is what Trump's done. And look how much better this would be for America than what he's done. And I think that's the
COVID really.
Some people are saying Fetterman.
Oh my
this
God!
is the thing about Fetterman and Joe Manchin. Like Joe Manchin, a lot of more independent or old school Democrats like him a lot. And when he hadn't announced that he was going to retire yet, but there were a lot of rumors that he was considering a bid for presidency, either as a Democratic challenger or an independent.
Now that would bring my black pill back in, because if they do that, this guy is brain dead. I mean, he has real serious cognitive impairments.
Biden or Manchin or Fetterman?
Fetterman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's really in bad shape.
But I don't think they could pull another progressive Democrat right now, right? Like, the other thing is, I don't think Gavin Newsom would want to run and inherit this economy. I think he has a bad record and he doesn't want to be the one to have to fix this. I don't know that he could.
People are saying Michelle Obama. And I want to add something. I don't know that we have any strong evidence that Michelle Obama can actually handle good public speaking.
Or wants to run.
Well, but like, even if Michelle Obama wants to run, because that is the argument that Michelle does not want to run.
She doesn't want to.
But what is the argument that Michelle is a known orator who can actually handle a public debate? Has Michelle Obama debated
there's no
on stage?
evidence of
I
that.
think she gave speeches as first lady. Like,
I think it would all be just identity politics. It would all be identity. And if you go too hard at her, it's identity. It's you're attacking a woman. You're racist. You're
and
blah,
it's
blah,
to
blah.
try and milk the Obama name for a little bit more.
Well, yeah. I mean, clearly, it would definitely be a milking of the Obama name. But I think that her strength lies in the Obama name and her ability to capitalize on identity politics.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to be afraid to attack her. They're going to be afraid to go. I think Donald Trump would, go full out against her, but I don't know how that would go with your normies, because they already don't like the more coarse side of Donald Trump. So that's just my take on it. But I don't see her as actually being substantial.
I think Trump's going to win.
Well, I think
I do think it would be absolutely fantastic is if as the Democrats are imploding,
Yeah.
the Libertarians rise up.
Absolutely.
I would just say maybe it's a bit of a pipe dream, but the idea of the two parties being Libertarian and Republican would be absolutely fantastic.
Well,
Really
it'd be
would.
cool, but the thing is, like, at least for me personally, COVID really blackpilled me on how much people want liberty, right? Like,
Yes,
I think that
that's a
people
very
want
big question.
People want security more than at least nowadays, because we've had historically in the U.S. we've had for the most part, people have been so free for so long that that they're so used to it. The idea of not being free doesn't really register.
It's not-
Safety is what they're
I
concerned with.
disagree.
Complacent about it.
I completely disagree. I think what we learned from COVID was that people were terrified and would bend the knee to a corrupt regime.
Right.
The riots show that people do want freedom, but that they're unwilling to actually do any kind of meaningful organization.
To get it.
So you get all of these states locking down. You get the governor of New York murdering people, and not just New York. You've got New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I believe it was Pennsylvania as well as California. You got Michigan, nursing homes with COVID patients, and it's killing the elderly.
Yeah.
And people were angry. There certainly were people who loved to be a part of the mob. They want to join the communist revolution.
Yeah, they love totalitarianism.
But I think what we actually saw was not so much people don't want freedom, because they do, but they were unwilling to defend it.
I think people are. I do not think that people have a significant fire in their belly for liberty the way that libertarians do, and I don't think that I don't think that the libertarian argument right now is something that there is a significant hunger for. I think it's great that Donald Trump and RFK are going to be at the Libertarian convention. Hopefully that means more people hear libertarian arguments and more people are brought to libertarian arguments. I just don't think that people...
I just want to say,
Yeah.
the Libertarian Party has a lot of wackos in it.
Listen,
Yeah, it
I'm not.
Yeah.
You're putting me on the spot, Tim. Listen,
tell us about your party here,
there's
sir.
different milieus inside the party.
How many people are going to be naked this weekend?
Vermin Supreme is not running, so he will not be on the stage. But this is a character who wears a boot on his head and ran for president. But there are different milieus within the party, and I love the most radical milieu. By the way, they're having a party called Enemies of the State on Friday night at the convention. This is going to be big. That's my milieu. That's the one that I identify with. The most radical, and interestingly, Tim, the most radical people in the party are the people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and do work to actually make this happen, to make liberty come true. They actually go to bat for real. They don't just sit on the sidelines and criticize.
I think the Libertarian Party needs a better identity. But I suppose it actually makes a whole lot of sense. When you look at Jonathan Haidt's research on moral foundations, the only... So I love this, because at first they were like, there are 5 moral foundations. And then they met a libertarian.
Nope, there's only one. Just one. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
They met a libertarian, and they were like, this is strange. This individual is not registering on any moral foundation. Certainly that can't be correct.
Straight up autism.
And so what they ended up finding was there was a 6th moral foundation, liberty. And libertarians have okay, so let me pull up the moral foundations, actually.
It's hilarious.
Were you always a libertarian?
No.
So
I was,
where'd you start?
as I mentioned in one of the shows here, I was actually a Marxist. Okay, so I know exactly how the left thinks. I know what the premises are of their values and their philosophy, and I know how to debunk it entirely.
What made you change?
Let's do this
Sorry.
real quick. So this is a sample
Yep.
of a left liberal moral foundations breakdown, and you can see care, fairness, loyalty, authority, and purity. These were the original moral foundations. But then they kept running into libertarians, and you can see libertarians are very low on everything except liberty, and liberty's higher than everybody else. And so they were like, there's something else going on here. They created the liberty spectrum, and this is the interesting thing. So if you take a look at this, it's actually fascinating because it shows left, liberal, conservative, and libertarian averages alongside whoever took this test. I don't know who it is. The individual who took the test scored a 100 on care, an 80 on fairness, but loyalty is 40, authority is below 40, purity is a little bit above 40, and liberty is 23 or so percent. This is a liberal.
This is a socialist.
Right. This
no
is far
question.
leftist.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the blue graph, the blue bar, you can see that care is around 70%, fairness 75, loyalty is 40, authority is 40, purity is 30, and liberty is 60. This is your
Yeah,
average,
not bad.
average left liberal. Conservatives still score higher on liberty. Conservatives believe more in loyalty, authority, and purity.
Yeah.
And they have slightly less care and fairness. But here's the interesting thing. Conservatives are balanced. When you look across the board, conservatives rank around 65 to 70% on all moral foundations. It's a balanced moral view. Whereas libertarians are liberty and liberals are care and fairness.
Yeah, see, here's the problem with this scale, I think. And I know Jonathan Haidt personally. The problem is that it distinguishes between caring and wanting liberty. Whereas when you have liberty, you have the resources to care for people and you'll do it. But when the government is robbing you on a daily basis, taking X percentage of your money all the time, you don't have anything left. So
that's
they're
not
looking
liberty.
for caring from the state. That's where they want it to come from.
What you're referring to is loyalty and authority.
Okay, how so?
Well, so the idea that the state is taking your money is an authority and loyalty question.
I see. Yes, it is. Yes,
So-
it is. But I think the care and liberty are they're posited as antipodes here, whereas I think they're
They
not.
are antipodes. The idea from liberals about care is you don't know better. So Bloomberg, for instance, we're gonna tax the poor because they're stupid and they buy bad things. Liberty is let them buy whatever they want.
Right, exactly.
Care is no, they're hurting themselves, so we're in charge.
Okay, so what it really means is government intervention, that kind of care. In other words, we can't let people alone because they can't be trusted to take care of themselves.
That's authority.
Okay, well, care.
So what I'm talking about is if you mix care and authority, you get Bloomberg.
Right.
If you say care, it's someone who's like care and fairness really just come down to the idea of other people should be happy, but that is an ignorant impossibility in and of itself.
Yes.
So this ends up you get a bunch of leftists who this person's actually I don't even know if they're a socialist because they don't have any authority, but they have no liberty. So clearly there's something at odds there.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
But care and fairness is basically just like if two people, look, a rich guy and a poor guy. Hey, that's not fair. But they're just stupid. They don't understand what is fair. Who's doing the most amount of work?
Exactly.
Liberty is the guy getting naked on stage at the Libertarian convention.
No, that's not my idea. That's libertine, not libertarian. But
so this is the issue I think with the Libertarian Party.
Okay.
Is that when I'm talking to friends and I say things like, "Look, the Mises Caucus are actually pretty great. Listen to what they have to say," they point to woke libertarians. Who
there
believe
are some.
I mean, Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Famously,
One of the guys that's running against me is, I would say, woke, and he's trying to hide it, but definitely.
Who's that?
Chase Oliver.
Yeah.
So what's his deal?
He's for Ellis Island-like immigration, and he's also he's pro-choice, bodily autonomy, and also he believes that people under 18, children, can take transgender.
So he's woke.
He's woke.
How is he a libertarian?
And he wants the state to take special care of these particular beleaguered minorities, if you know what I mean.
So how does he even in the Libertarian Party?
He's managed to mask his leftism with a little bit of libertarian rhetoric mixed in, and people that don't really understand the principles are falling for it. But I think they're going to be disabused of this this weekend.
One of the challenges too is a large portion of the Libertarian Party is for open borders.
That's a mistake too,
So it's almost like there's no unified party.
Well, I think it has a consistent philosophy. There's three principles: self-ownership, ownership of what you make, and the non-aggression principle. That's the core. But then you get into such issues like immigration, and people read the same principles differently in terms of those issues. I am not for open borders. I believe in invitation-based immigration. That is, if you're invited to come here and somebody's willing to put up, take liability for you economically, then sure.
Would you be for ending birthright citizenship?
I Citizenship is not the issue. The question is whether they're allowed to come here or not, and that would be on an invitation
But people
basis.
use birthright citizenship as a way to legitimize their path towards
to
immigration,
come in,
especially
right.
if they've entered illegally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one because I am for liberty, but I don't want people infringing on property that they don't own, and I think public property is really the property of taxpayers, whereas the state takes custodianship over it. I don't think that's right.
Let's jump to this next story from the AP News. I don't know if this means World War III or what, but Iran's president and foreign minister died in a helicopter crash. And the AP says it's at a moment of high tensions in the Mideast. So this is, you can see from these images that were released, it was very foggy. And so the official story is that they were struggling to see, they crashed. It happens, they died. Many people are saying, hey, look, this happened to Kobe, right? Israel has denied involvement, but there are many people who are saying that it doesn't matter. It's like a Franz Ferdinand moment. This is the death of the president. He's the second most powerful individual in Iran underneath the supreme leader, their Ayatollah.
Right.
So there is now an interim acting president who's in charge. But a lot of people don't believe in coincidences, especially a month after rocket fire was exchanged between Israel and Iran, the president dies.
And they killed some high-ranking officials earlier
At the embassy.
Yes.
Right. So Israel strikes the embassy, and I believe it was in Damascus. Is that where it was? In Syria.
Yeah, in Syria. Yep.
And then Iran retaliates.
Right.
Israel strikes back. Iran denies and now the Iranian president is dead. So,
well, it's either fog or the fog of war. It's very,
how often do heads of state die in helicopter crashes like this?
Very, very rarely.
And he's not flying in. I doubt was he flying in some rinky-dink little commercial
Well,
helicopter?
this is what I think is
copter,
interesting because a report from a European news service was pointing out or saying, because of American tariffs and restrictions on Iran, all of their flight infrastructure is very old. So the helicopters are old, the airplanes are old, and so actually there are some issues
Likely
regularly.
alibi. I don't know.
It's also interesting because even regardless, like if it is bad weather, he crashed a mountain, like total accident, there's another underlying tension of like, but if you guys weren't so restrictive of us, we wouldn't have this problem. So even if it wasn't direct aggression, there's a way for anyone who wants to spin it to blame.
See culpability.
They're gonna blame Israel anyways.
Well,
right
in that
off
case, you'd
the
be blaming
bat.
America, right?
Pardon me?
In that case, you'd be blaming America. If you're saying you guys put all these restrictions on us.
It's the same thing. 6 of one, half a dozen to the other. Like to Iran, it is literally. It doesn't
for
matter.
them, it's their equivalent.
To Iran, it doesn't matter. They're gonna and they were gonna blame Israel anyways. Like as soon as it happened, Israel got blamed for the rain in Dubai. They're gonna blame they're gonna blame the Mossad for this. So I don't think there's any kind of question about where the blame would go. Whether or not anything's gonna become of it, I don't actually think so, because I don't think the president, being that he's just the president, he's not like the Ayatollah, he's not really the guy in charge.
Right, he's not really the guy in charge, and they do have a cover of this fog, right? I mean, there was very low fog, and helicopter.
But that's how you do it.
Yes, pilots often go under the fog and crash.
That's how you assassinate a world leader.
Yeah. Right, at that moment, that's what I'm saying. Using that fog, the literal fog of war here. Yeah.
Yeah, if Israel, or I shouldn't even bring up Israel, but literally any nation, the United States wants to get rid of the Iranian president, that's the time you do it.
Exactly, perfect.
And then deny all
moment.
involvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the crazy thing is, with the way cyber warfare currently, the state of cyber warfare, I'm at the point where it's just like, I think it's fair to say every nation has its finger straight in the machines of the other infrastructure of the other nations, and they're all ready to pull the pin at a moment's notice. And that's keeping things tied down. Because I tell you this, I don't think we'd be able to detect intrusions if the Iranians, the Russians, the Syrians, anybody, if they found a backdoor and then wrote themselves some access, it would be difficult to find where and how they did it. And they could be sitting on a button that could shut off electricity, they could shut off oil. And I doubt with this, let's start from this point. How many federal law enforcement agents are in this country? What is the number, like 100,000?
Federal law enforcement?
Something like that.
Yeah. So we're talking, how many people are in cyber command? How many people work private and public cybersecurity? I do not believe it is possible to secure our infrastructure based on how massive the infrastructure is and based on how difficult it is to actually track security vulnerabilities with how many people we have. The same is true for literally every nation. I'd be willing to bet that the US, China, Russia, Iran, Israel, they've got pins in every machine and they're ready to pull them at a moment's notice, and it's going to shut down gas, electricity, key infrastructure, bridges are going to be going wild. And look what the US and Israel did with Stuxnet. Do you guys remember this? Made a virus. I could be wrong. It's been like 12 years since this happened. But the general idea was Israel and the US are like, we're going to make a virus that will infect every computer everywhere. And then as soon as the virus sees that it's in an Iranian nuclear centrifuge, it will blow itself up. So people had this virus on their computers that did nothing. And then one day, the Iranian nuclear centrifuges blew themselves up. They wouldn't stop spinning. They kept spinning faster and faster until they destroyed themselves. That's something that we know the US and Israel did.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet zero-day exploits, meaning there's too many systems. There's way too many systems. I'd be willing to bet that if we went to war with Iran, all of a sudden, like our pipelines shut down. And then, I mean, look, here, you know what's wild? Last year, I think it was last year, MGM, the casino chain, got hit by ransomware. And they were like, pay up or we're shutting you down. It was a couple casinos. One casino paid, they were back online. MGM said no. And they were offline for months or some ridiculous amount of time, unable to unlock their computers. Yeah. When you'd go to the casino, they would hand you, like if you're trying to play a slot machine, they have to walk up and hand you cash. Yep. Crazy.
Maybe that's fun. Kind of old school, kind of vintage.
Yeah.
Not even. You used to get quarters. You put a quarter and you pull the thing, quarter comes out. It was mechanical. Now with computers, the whole thing was fried.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just reminds me how delicate the whole system is, right? Like once everything is integrated online, it just seems like the right person could take it all out.
Yeah.
Not to be cynical about the internet.
Do we see this driving? Well, I'll put it this way. I think it was Newsweek and Intercept both ran articles saying this is World War III. The Intercept said Israel's attack on Iran is not risking World War III. It is war, effectively implying World War III is now.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I honestly, I feel like, and this is just, not that I'm any kind of expert because I don't know anything about anything.
But Phil, you
like,
talking to a stick for a living.
I know. I feel like the operations that they're doing in Gaza, like they're coming to a close. They don't have any more major operations that they're talking about. Like they're about to.
Rafah. There's still a question of whether they're going to do
They're
a
in
full-
Rafah now, though.
Yeah, but a further siege with more bombardment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but it seems like it's winding down there. Because there's not a whole lot much.
There's nothing left.
Yeah, there's nothing really left.
And they're
so,
starting the
totally
conversation
destroyed.
about like, well, what will it look like once it's over? Which
yeah,
is
so
interesting.
I don't see that. I don't think that this isn't going to be. I don't see an escalation, is what I'm saying. And not. I mean, again, not like I have any kind of like inside information or blah blah blah. I just don't think that there's going to be any more significant escalation with Israel. And I don't think that Iran. I don't think Iran's going to do anything.
I don't know that they have the weaponry to do much.
No, I don't think that.
I mean, they shot missiles at Israel, and they didn't really do any damage, as far as I know. I mean, there was very little damage done by those missiles.
And Russia's
do
got
they
too
have
much shit to
anything
do.
else? What?
Russia's got too much stuff to do. They've got plenty. They got their hands. They do have their hands full with Ukraine. Like whether or not it's not like they could go ahead and have another war that they could actually.
They're not
engage
as
in.
crazy as the United States.
No,
who thinks we could be in three of them at the same time.
Well, it is. I mean, the U.S. actually has a big enough military to do it. Russia doesn't. Whether or not it's a right idea.
What
Well,
do you think happens with all these geopolitical tensions? Like, how do the next couple months before the election go?
There's a possibility that this administration tries to exacerbate tensions and make something happen so that now we're at war. Okay,
wartime
now
presidents
a
say, yeah.
wartime election makes it a whole different environment. And that's a very serious and pernicious possibility, I think.
I don't disagree. I just don't know that anything could save Joe Biden at this point. Polls are coming out claiming that Trump's at 23% among black voters.
Yes, that's huge.
I never believe it.
Well, it's
been
probably not that high, but it's still high.
Yeah, and I think there was this moment today where, oh man, I was watching Fox News and Joe Biden was just saying a whole bunch of racisms. Did you see this one where he went to the university? He went to
Morehouse, his
Morehouse,
college.
yeah.
and then he was like just basically saying, "You can't succeed. It's too bad, not fair." We had one line that
White supremacy is the biggest
Yeah,
plague,
he
the
said-
biggest problem that faces us.
you have to be 10 times better than the other guy to get the position or something like that.
Quite the opposite, frankly.
This
It's
is not
quite
the inspiring
opposite.
graduation speech. That
But
Yeah,
you're
right.
getting.
Didn't they turn their backs on him?
Some did
Over
because
over the Israel issue.
over Palestine, and their valedictorian called for an immediate ceasefire,
And he said
Joe Biden
immediate.
applauded.
But he said on stage,
Yeah, he did.
he's called for a ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean it isn't. And then he went on to speak to the NCAA. So he had another meeting during that week, and I just think that was a blunder on Joe Biden's part. I think it's. I mean, I don't know, but I think that his administration is kind of clunkily trying to court voters among minority people, and they can't do it. I think he's going to, for everyone, he's going to have to answer for the economy, and he's
Right.
going to have to answer for the geopolitical tension. Any young graduate, regardless of race right
Yeah.
now, is looking at the world
That's why
saying,
he said ceasefire.
Right.
Because he's trying to win these voters. They're not going to do anything. They've been sending these arms without any hesitation whatsoever. There was one issue where they said we're going to withhold these arms, but then they made a shipment soon thereafter. So it's just pretense. I don't believe anything he says about that.
Well, let's jump to some lighter news, I suppose, then. We have this from the Daily Mail. Kid Rock uses N-word, waves handgun, and challenges reporter to physical fight as he claims Donald Trump cheats at golf in unhinged interview.
That's hilarious.
I love this country so much.
This guy is
Yeah.
It's the best.
guy
How
is-
old is Kid Rock now or something like that?
50-something,
I think
right?
he's older than that, right?
Is he?
I don't
I'll
think he's
look.
in his 60s.
Well, let's read the news, I guess.
Yeah.
Daily Mail reports Kid Rock wielded a gun, hurled racial slurs, and instigated a physical altercation with a reporter, according to a new Rolling Stone article. Of course, I don't believe Rolling Stone because they lie about too much. Writer David Peisner recalled the encounter in a piece published Sunday following his interview with the country rapper in Nashville last month. During the unhinged chat, they delved into topics ranging from immigration and Donald Trump to Kid Rock's right-wing warrior persona. As the drinks flowed and Kid Rock's intoxication grew, Peisner described a tense moment where the musician abruptly produced a black handgun, waving it before Peisner's face in an apparent attempt to make a statement. And I've got a effing GD gun right here if I need it. Kid Rock, who is also close friends with Trump Jr., reportedly shouted, "I got them everywhere." The cowboy hitmaker reportedly used the N-word multiple times, notably while asserting that Republicans were the one who freed the slaves.
Oh, my God.
He says, "Do you think you could whoop the ish out of me?" He allegedly asked Peisner, who responded, "Probably not." I agree, probably not.
He's 53, apparently.
Kid Rock would be able to win a fight with his.
Kid Rock.
What else is this?
You're not supposed to say the N-word.
He says,
But
"You
he's a
think I
country
like?"
rapper.
He says, "You think I like Trump because he's a nice guy? I'm not electing the deacon of a church. That MFer likes to win. He likes to cheat in his effing golf game. I want that guy on my team. I want the guy who goes, 'I'm gonna fight for you.'"
Oh, my God.
Yo, this headline is America.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Is it?
It's a total circus.
It's the bull god.
But the thing is, when they say he uses the N-word, you know that he didn't.
You don't think?
No, use and say are two different things. The idea that Kid Rock was actually intending to insult and demean a person based on their race, I don't believe for 1 second. The idea that he said that, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Like that's America's a free speech place where people are going to tell you, you know, is the country where a homeless guy can give the middle finger to the president. Go to Thailand and say this about the king, and you
kill
go to,
you, right?
I think you go to prison. I don't know if they kill you, depending on what you say. But it's so bad. It's called lèse majesté. It's so bad that if you condemn someone who said, let's say in Thailand, they say something like, "F the king." And then you go, "How dare you say F the king?" You both have just committed lèse majesté. The fact that you repeated it in condemnation is a crime itself. And so people are terrified.
Yeah.
In America, you can be like Kid Rock.
Yeah, you might get canceled. I don't know. What did he
Nope.
get canceled
He ain't
from?
getting canceled.
There's nothing
And he just added another 10,000 new fans.
Probably right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Although, like, I actually think, Rolling Stone wrote how Kid Rock went from America's favorite hard-partying rock star to a MAGA mouthpiece. I don't even know why you'd agree to do an
Why
interview
would
with
he
these
do
people.
an interview with Rolling Stone? I mean, come on.
Is that his name, Bob Ritchie?
Yeah.
His real name? Bob.
Bob. Good job, Bob. Hope you didn't use the hard R.
I really doubt this guy's telling the truth, to be completely honest. Like, the Rolling Stone is absolute garbage.
Look at what we're talking about, a man swearing.
There's crazy news out there today.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
in a day when we were just talking about the president of Iran.
Well, yes, but
crashing,
Phil,
and now
this is intentional. It's like we're talking about all these really awful things, a demented president, the death of another president, World War III. And so I intentionally pulled up the silly story for levity.
It is fair, but there are people that do get really upset about that. And there are people that will, make threats and try to get people fired and stuff. And
I just got to say to everybody who's listening, if we talk about Kid Rock cussing up a storm and screaming "Go Trump," there are going to be people who are going to say something like, "Why are we talking about this? This is a waste of time." And then if we're like, "Okay, let's pull up the story from Iran and the dead president," they're going to say, "You guys are pessimists talking about war too much. Let's talk about something calmer." There's nothing you can do. Okay,
I'm not even talking about the intensity of it. It's just that it's more of a comment on the fact that an adult swearing is something that actually is, even though it is for levity. It's something.
I get your
we'll
point,
talk
right?
about.
The fact that
he
Rolling
supposedly
Stone
wielded a weapon. That's the question. I bet you he didn't.
Yeah.
I don't believe that part of it. I don't think he took out a gun and started.
But even if he did, that's kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
he brandishes a gun and he swore, and he used a dirty word. It's the fact that Rolling Stone even mentions it is just so ridiculous.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't believe Rolling Stone. This is just
It makes
diarrhea. It's news story diarrhea. However, if I'm hanging out anywhere and someone's drunk and they pull out a gun, I'm leaving. No questions
If they're
asked.
drunk, absolutely.
No questions. You are drunk and you touch a gun, I say, I am leaving.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. That's it. I'm getting out of here as quick as possible. Because there was just another story that we had. It was on the sidebar of the New York Post. Some dumb rapper teenager shot himself in the head.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't mess around with guns, man. You got to get training. You got to know what you're doing. And
he broke 3 rules. There's only 4 rules, and he broke 3.
I think the thing is with Kid Rock, they're always going to want to pull him out to be like, this is what everyone who supports the MAGA
Trump.
movement looks
That's
like.
what they're doing, yeah. It's
He
a
is
smear.
this crazy guy with this long hair, and he says crass things, and he has a gun or whatever it is. Like, and
This is your Trump voter.
This is like who, if you have a neighbor who has a Trump sign in his yard, this is who lives next door to you. And I don't even think regardless of what you think of what Kid Rock said or alleged said or did or whatever, like the idea is to be able to hold up people who seem distasteful to the public and say anyone who supports Trump is like this person, and here's why you should be not just like not friends with them, but also sort of scared of the weird and crazy things they do.
Yeah, they do the same thing on a smaller scale, of course, to the people in the Mises Caucus in the Libertarian Party. They find, they try to associate us with all kinds of racism and, other kinds of indiscretions that they don't like. But it's,
You know that someone at Rolling Stone was like, "Are we a music publication?" Like,
I feel like I've been for
we?
a long time.
Maybe that conversation happened 10 years ago.
right. The editor walks up to one of the Democrats that's working in the office currently on the phone with Joe Biden, and he's like, "You know how we used to be a music publication? Let's interview Kid Rock so we can smear and insult Trump supporters."
Right.
And the Democrat was like, "That's a great idea, and I can pretend to be a journalist." And this is where we are. This is America, everybody.
I mean,
Hope you're
that's what I
enjoying
always thought
yourselves.
about, Teen Vogue when they started having political reporters, and I thought, you're
Remember
a teenage girl magazine.
We
What
talked
was
about
Oh, we got
this.
to pull that one up. What was that Teen Vogue Marx
message.
thing?
Teen Vogue.
Teen Vogue talking about Marx.
Oh, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
there you go. Teen Vogue. Who is Karl Marx? Meet the anti-capitalist scholar.
anti-capitalist scholar.
Insane.
The anti-capitalist scholar.
Oh wow!
Okay,
this
so
was
that's all he was just a scholar.
And then tons of, well, this is 2016, so
He
it might still be
wasn't
millennials,
a
but
mad ideologue who tried to destroy civilization with an utterly flawed theory And
So-
he wasn't really, he didn't cheer on mass terror, although he did.
What a lunatic
So
this
why
guy.
were you a Marxist? Like, how did you
Well,
get?
listen, I mean, I was indoctrinated through. I went to graduate school and got indoctrinated through English departments and tons of books and reading. They kept thrusting on us, and eventually,
But you weren't political before that.
not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I was somewhat political. I was very anti-war, but they kind of just drilled it into you. I mean, I have agency. It wasn't like I thought there was some ethical basis to it. I thought it was more ethical than capitalism, but I realize now that it's absolutely the most unethical economic system there is because it's premised on theft.
And what made you? When did the tide start to turn? Because
When I was at NYU and I started speaking up against, like, things started percolating in my head about this social justice, wokeness, and all that. It wasn't called wokeness yet. This was 2016,
Yeah.
and I started speaking up on Twitter. I started a handle, anti-PC NYU prof. That got a little attention, and then they came for me. Yeah.
You got fired, didn't you?
No, I was
didn't get
not fired. I left with a settlement, as a matter of fact.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they like to lie. Speaking of lies, Wikipedia is a lie rag as well.
Yep. But it's because you've got collectivists up against individualists.
Right.
The individualists are like, I'm going to do my thing, mind my own business. The collectivists are like all for the revolution.
Oh, absolutely. And they'll
To the point
they're
where-
very interested in destroying the individualist.
To the
Big
point
time.
where Teen Vogue wrote a puff piece on Karl Marx.
This is unbelievable. What's it say? I can't see it from here.
You may have come across communist memes on social media. The man, the meme, the legend behind this trend is Karl Marx, who developed a theory of communism, which advocates for workers' control over their labor instead of their bosses. The political philosopher turned 200 years old on May 5th, but his ideas can still teach us about the past and the present. The famed German co-authored the Communist Manifesto, which scholar Friedrich Engels in 1848, a piece of writing that makes the case for political theory of socialism, where the community, rather than rich people, have ownership and control over their labor, which later inspired millions of people. Here's the trick. You want to know what the trick is? You already own your labor.
Yeah.
You never didn't.
Right.
And so the issue is the idea when they tell you you don't actually own your labor, your boss does. What they're really saying is you provide little value beyond what labor you have. And what I'm actually saying is you would get more if only you had some kind of nebulous claim to something.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the issue is for a lot of people, they sell their labor for what they can sell their labor
Right.
for. And the unfortunate reality of the world is some people can sell their labor for very little.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want to steal power and destroy an institution, go to all the workers and say, you're getting paid $10 an hour. You know that he's getting paid 15, right?
Yeah.
And so what you do is you sow discord by tricking people into thinking that they're getting less than they deserve.
Right.
And so there are instances where certainly people are getting less than they deserve. But the market is the market.
Yes, there are cases, usually by monopolies, which only come into existence thanks to the state.
I don't think it's only the state that makes monopolies, but the state certainly makes monopolies.
It makes monopolies, but I would argue that there are no natural monopolies.
The East India Trading Company?
That was a state project.
I mean,
Great Britain was completely behind that, even with military assistance.
Yeah, but you could argue that the power of the East India Trading Company basically dictated the government. It was operating outside of its borders. I suppose then at a certain level, the state and the corporations operate interchangeably.
It was a colonialist project as well, so...
But I think it's probably just fair to say that at a certain level, there's a coalescence of government and corporate power into a fascistic machine.
Yes, that's correct.
So
that's the kind of collusion.
We're looking at the top of the hill from both sides of it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I always look at it from the side of the state and what they're doing, and they would not be able to have collusion with corporations if they didn't exist.
Well, for what reason teenagers need to learn about Karl Marx, I don't know.
So they don't learn about anything else.
Well,
so
this
this is what they're like. Wow, he seems like he helped the workers.
Well, you're
It's
right, but
crazy.
this is something that I've talked about before. It's not just Teen Vogue. You get Teen Vogue and GQ will have the same thing, and then Good Housekeeping
They're all owned by
will
the same
run a
companies.
similar leftist. And essentially, you're getting this mono message from all of establishment media, or from a vast majority of establishment media. There's no reason why GQ and Teen Vogue would be running the same articles. Why would 30, 40-year-old upper middle class men be interested in the same thing that teen girls are?
There's got to be orchestration going on.
It's completely ridiculous to think that they would, other than to try to feed a narrative to people.
Let's jump to another story here. This one's just kind of fun and silly, but gets kind of scary. From NBC News, Scarlett Johansson says she was shocked and angered when she heard ChatGPT voice that sounded like her. The Her actor released a statement following OpenAI pulling its Sky voice from ChatGPT, which many people sounded like her. This is the degree of insanity in which we are currently living. If an AI sounds too much like a celebrity, the celebrity complains, and then they pull the AI, even though it was not actually based on her voice. Scarlett Johansson said on Monday that OpenAI used an eerily similar voice to hers for their new ChatGPT 4.0 chatbot, despite having declined the company's request to provide her voice. Blah, blah, blah. I guess the gist of the story is they did offer. She said no. And so they found someone else who sounded kind of like her to use her voice instead. But then she was like, hey, that sounds too much like me.
Oh, my God. This is intellectual property law, complete sham. It's got to be stricken. It's garbage all the way down.
I think the reason why I wanted to get into the AI subject, and this was certainly an open door, is that the end is here, my friends. I believe it's the end. It was nice knowing all of you, and I am preparing to live in a van down by the river. The reason is there is an increasing trend that TikTok videos are going away. You know what people are doing? They're making completely AI-generated videos in every way. So 8 years ago, between 6 and 8 years ago, we had this Elsagate fiasco on YouTube where people were using computer programs to auto-generate videos that they could upload to YouTube that would manipulate the algorithm, and they'd make money. The problem is, at this point, the computer-generated videos were rudimentary at best. They would write a simple program that says, like, first they created an animation, 2 figures doing Tai Chi and dancing to a poorly recorded version of Finger Family, a nursery rhyme. Then they wrote a simple script saying, choose at random these skins for the figures. It could be the Incredible Hulk. It could be Hitler. It could be a woman in a bikini. Any combination of colors. And so there was one that was funny where it was Hitler's head on a woman's body in a bikini doing Tai Chi with the Hulk. YouTube quickly saw this and said, no, get this stuff out of there, and deleted it. It was up for a little while. These videos were getting thousands and tens of thousands of views and making money for people. But it was so ridiculous, they got rid of it. AI has improved. And now if you open up TikTok or Instagram, you will see videos that are completely AI generated, where it's like a CGI man and he's like on a pogo stick.
Yeah.
And then the voice goes, did you know the world record for pogo sticks hops is 1,274? And it's playing this song. It's like boom, 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 boom. You've heard the song. I know you have. And these videos all have millions and millions and millions of views. But they're not crazy. Someone, it's 100% AI. The AI chatbot program pulls a factoid, generates a quick video of it, and then, or it's a random selection of clips related to the keywords, and then an AI generated voice says it with text appearing on the screen, auto uploads it, and this is replacing all media. With ChatGPT voice and stuff like this, people aren't going to talk to people anymore. They're not going to. They're not going to listen to podcasts.
You're going to get a call from your. Oh, in my case, I get a call from supposedly my son. I need X amount of dollars. I'm gonna I mean, they're going to be able to simulate your voice entirely, and you could use this to rob people, to scam them, all kinds of stuff.
I'm just saying.
But also reality. You're talking about the fact that we're living in a simulation. That's the problem.
We are going to be living in a simulation, not even in the Matrix, but with people. I love the podcast era. It was amazing, and it's going away, right? So we had radio. Everyone listens to radio. Wow, amazing. Then you get television. And all of a sudden, everyone in the country is watching the same few shows, knowing the same things. If you live in New York and you drive to Chicago, you can talk about what was on, Jimmy Carson or whatever.
Right.
And then we started moving into the internet era. And in this period, you got decentralization to a little bit where things flattened out and shows like this were able to emerge.
Right.
But now we're entering total saturation with AI generation, meaning at first it was like, are you skilled enough to do a show and speak to the masses? You got to have the technical capabilities. You got to have a producer, a sound guy. All of these people come together to build a machine to send that broadcast out. And it was so hard to do that there were very few, and everybody watched the same ones. Then with the internet, it became easier and easier and easier. So shows like this could emerge. Still, there's a level of work ethic and technical know-how you need to record videos, produce a show. We are now at the point where people are almost entirely, we're moving very much into minute soundbite social media. So people are just scrolling up, random video, consuming no real information from them. And we're coming to the point where it's CGI and AI. So now the barrier of entry is 0. The value is 0, but the dopamine is 100. So this is the end. And the good news is that it's going to be Scarlett Johansson who's whispering sweet nothings into your ear as you fade away into the Matrix.
It's fake Scarlett Johansson, right?
Yeah,
Allegedly.
we have Scarlett Johansson at home.
There'll be no original left. There'll be simulations with no original remaining.
We're there, man. Suno.com, this AI music generating stuff. It's nuts.
The capabilities of AI and what people are going to do with it is definitely something that is, it's unnerving, I guess.
Welcome to the end, Phil. Read it.
Portable, non-invasive, mind-reading AI turns thoughts into text. Oh, so we're going to and so we won't need the Neuralink.
This is what Neuralink is really going to come down to. You're going to be connected to the cloud. Your brain will be connected to the cloud. Your thoughts will be known to the cloud, the central database, and they'll actually impute thoughts to you.
I feel bad for Elon. I feel bad. You know, he's working so hard on Neuralink.
Yeah.
And Neuralink has been talking about one of the challenges they have is that these very thin wires apparently get displaced. Of course, it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
And what they're doing with AI is they're using electroencephalograms. I believe they're using electroencephalograms. Basically, it's they may be using something much more advanced than that.
That's what it's. I read something on this earlier, and that's what they were using in EEG.
So they're bypassing
they
his
put
whole
a helmet on
technology.
your head, and it monitors brain waves that are coming out of your head.
Right.
And humans have no idea what the waves mean. They can't interpret this, but the AI can. So what they do is they have people watch videos, and then they tell the people to say what they're watching. The AI, the computer then scans the brainwaves of all the people watching these same videos, and after enough samples, the AI says, I got it. This pattern correlates with these things. And they got to the point where I was watching this video, and the guy says, now we're at the point where you can put on the headset, watch the video, and then the computer will tell us what you're watching. Reading your mind.
Yes, reading your mind. Absolutely. So they were inferring backwards from those tests. Yeah.
It's more than just watching the video, though. So the more people watch the videos and provide this data, it's more than just they play a video of a teenage girl walking her dog. What the video showed was the AI doesn't just say a video of a girl walking a dog. It shows what the woman was thinking. And the woman who was recording saying, that woman looks like me, and she's walking her dog. And
this is the observer, not the woman walking the dog, right?
It was a woman watching a video.
Yeah, the observer's
and the AI read her
mind.
Thoughts.
Yeah, this is all possible. Absolutely. They've been talking about this for 20 years.
We're going to get to the point where
more than that. Kurzweil, going back to
this EEG technology, if it improves dramatically, and the market will dictate, and there's a value for government especially.
Oh yeah,
they're going to find ways to minimize the requirements of an EEG so that they can scan your thoughts at a distance, and maybe they already can, and then use AI to decode what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And
let's show him a picture of Hitler and see what he thinks.
It's not just that. It won't matter. You'll be walking down Times Square, and they will be scanning all of the thoughts, and then all of a sudden there will be a guy walking, and the cops are going to run out and grab him, and he's going to go, I didn't do anything, and they're going to find a knife.
But you're thinking about it, so it's
Yep.
premeditated.
Yeah, it's precog. Yeah,
Pre-crime.
Yeah.
We're in for a wild ride.
Needless to say,
There's
this
got
is
to
my
be a way
nightmare.
around it. You got to be able to. There has to be a way.
A tinfoil hat.
Yes, that's probably right.
I'm not kidding.
I imagine there will be some. I mean, they figured out ways to beat facial recognition with masks and different types of face painting. I imagine there will be people that are going to be figuring out ways to try to come up with some kind of jammer. There's already talk about jammers on for drones and stuff like that, or whatever.
I don't think so, because what'll end up happening is let's say they do implement this in Times Square. You walk into Times Square with a jammer, they run in and grab you immediately.
Right away.
Cell jammers are illegal.
Yeah.
You have any kind of blocking, and they look.
Yeah,
Masks are in many places illegal. They can actually stop you and detain you for wearing a mask and make you remove it.
Right.
Granted, a few years ago it was the opposite. They would stop you and detain you if you
I'd say
weren't wearing one.
the most dangerous prospect here is if the government uses this stuff to control people, to read their minds and actually control their behavior.
What if they're already doing it?
Yeah, I was going to say,
I mean,
it's when.
If military already developed this technology a while ago,
They're always in advance. Yeah, they're way out ahead of consumer technology for sure.
This is what I thought was interesting with Colorado. Jared Polis, the governor, just signed into law the bill regulating AI, or attempting to regulate it, and they're kind of presenting it as, well, we don't want you to use the algorithm to discriminate against people, so we want you to have to release certain amounts of data and whatever else. But he was like, he's a Democrat, and he was saying, like, I understand that you want to protect consumers and their privacy, but this could really stifle technology. And I think we're at this, AI really does represent this very strange knife blade, kind of thin razor line point where people are saying, Elon Musk is pointing out you can use certain technologies to help people really in need, or paraplegics, wherever else. But on the other hand, in the wrong hands, or just in the unknowing hands, AI could potentially be destructive. You don't know what it's collecting. You don't know what it's referencing. I mean, ChatGPT is fallible. It cites things. It messes things up. And so where do we stand? Because, if you don't want government regulation, how do we keep all of these things in balance as the technology races forward?
The only regulation I would like to see is to keep it out of the hands of the state altogether. And otherwise, I think competition is the only answer, because otherwise, we're going to have these dominating forces who monopolize the market, and they have a particular ideological standpoint. They have a particular agenda. We need to have competition and let it flow.
All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? 1 like equals 1 FJB. So that gets way more likes, so do it that way. Head over to timcast.com, click Join Us to become a member and watch the members-only call-in show, which will be coming up at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. You as members actually get to call in, talk to us and our guests. A lot of fun. But for now, share the show, subscribe, and we will read your Super Chats. All right, we got Relax Buddy, who says, I've been a viewer from the start. I'm a single dad with 2 boys, 5 and 3, and a mortgage. A teen drunk driving destroyed my car recently, and I'm struggling to get work every day. Anything helps. He's got a give, send, go for Blake R. Metters. Good luck, sir. Token Black Guy says, howdy, people. Howdy, Clint. Apparently, there's no Clint today. No Clint. Kyle says, wanted to say thank you to Cast Brew and Alex Stein for sharing my tweet showing our Cast Brew coffee display at Chronic Golf plus Games. Mind sharing as well, Tim. Also, any updates on the espresso roast? We are backlogged on, we've been waiting for months for Ian's Graphene Dream. I don't know what the holdup is. It's Ian's Graphene Dream. I believe it's a low acidity blend, and we got really cool graphic design for it and everything. And we're backlogged. I don't know what's going on, and it's a bit frustrating. But it takes a long time to get the stuff off the ground. But I did share it, sir. I shared it. Really awesome. Thank you. This is our Cast Brew Coffee now has wholesalers selling the coffee at their stores.
That's pretty
very cool. Man of History says, howdy again from Texas, y'all. Howdy, howdy. Let's go. All right, we'll grab some more Super Chats. Based Ventura, we got a 3-parter here. He says, women have in-group preference, being girls girl. Men have out-group preference, separate selves from the pack. Complement natures help women foster community. Men defend it from threats. Feminism weaponizes, though, push women to always empower women, make men attack every man who opposes, leading to never-ending feedback loop-breaking society. Cons oppose feminist message, can't root out due to innate desire to nurture vulnerable. To stop evil invader Pearl's value not in the hot takes, but she rejects normal group preferences, thus defangs feminist of most subtle useful weapons, open more people to seeing purge virus. I believe you probably needed 4 or 5 to get the full message out because your shorthand became very difficult to understand.
Yeah, that was
But
hard to follow.
I did a follow up on the culture war episode we did earlier at 4, because Pearl's pretty nasty on Twitter. She's allowed to be. I get it. It's the internet. I'm not saying she shouldn't be, but I'm saying she is. And my thoughts. She basically, some guy said, my wife and I pray. Try to talk about how to serve the Lord better, and we hope. I pray that you find someone. And then she said, like, your wife is 40 and overweight. Nobody wants what you have. And I was like, I really feel the only reason to say that to somebody is because you're hurt. Mm-hmm. Like you're trying to blast someone who has something you want.
Yeah.
Because there's no real logic behind someone saying, I pray that you find a life partner, and then you say your wife is an overweight old woman. You know what I mean?
Like to take that as an insult and attack.
Yeah, it's like for what reason? And then saying no one wants what you have really sounds like you kind of want what they have. You know what I mean?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, my impression of Pearl, who was a perfectly lovely guest, was that her audience her message is for men who are looking for information about the way, modern culture has changed women, and it's sort of looking for confirmation of things they already feel. So, maybe the fact that she's so aggressive online appeals to...
Pearl's a masochist.
I think Pearl's right about a lot of important things. When she talks about like divorce court and the biases in the system and the problem in the laws, like I agree. But I do believe that she is an anti-feminist by speech, but a feminist by practice.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I don't mean that disrespectfully, and I'm sure she might not appreciate it, or maybe she agrees. She is a 26-year-old unmarried professional woman running a company with employees. I mean, this is the second wave feminist's dream come true. Mm-hmm. A woman choosing in her mid-20s to not get married, not have a family, to be a leader of industry with millions of fans, and to be making, I'm assuming she's making millions at this point with how big her audience is. I could be wrong. But she started a new company. She's hosting a show. It's absolute feminism. I wouldn't know what else you'd call it. I don't know what your thoughts are, Phil.
I don't know that I would call it feminism, because she's an entrepreneur or doing entrepreneurial things, because I don't know exactly how much she does it compared to like whether it's like a team or whatever. Because if I understand correctly, and this is just what I've heard, I could be wrong, but if I understand correctly, her father's involved with her her stuff as well. But I mean, I don't think that she's actually a feminist just because the message that she's putting out there isn't a feminist message.
Well, that's what I said. Anti-feminist speech, but a feminist in practice.
Well, yeah, again, I don't think that just having a career is indicative of being a feminist. You don't have to be like a feminist that's like...
What was first wave feminism?
I guess the first wave of feminism was about voting.
And what was second wave feminism?
Second wave feminism was about property and owning, about whether or not they could work at all and whether they could own property and stuff.
So I called her a second wave feminist in practice.
I mean,
so the victories of feminism resulted in the creation of Pearl. And she speaks out against third and fourth wave feminism for sure, but she upholds second wave feminism.
I get the point that you're making because she's out there working and stuff like that, but I don't know that she's actually looking to promote that message. So
right, I don't think she is, but there's a difference between the words you say and then the life you live. That's why I said her speech is very anti-feminist in a modern context, but she wholly represents feminism. When you're debating a conservative Christian woman and saying, what makes you think you have the right to tell your husband how to worship God, and what makes you think you have the right to tell other men how to lead their households? It's like you're taking a Christian conservative perspective and critique while being a feminist.
I don't even know what her actual beliefs are, though. Like I know that she's she says that she's against feminism and wants to see, I guess she's kind of red pilled. But other than that, I don't know if she's actually all that religious or is her,
right.
It's cultural.
And this is why she says things like during the debate, she was like, I'm not telling people how to live. She's like, I'm just criticizing these groups. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, then, like, you represent feminism well. Like, the idea that she could be critical of conservative women for not following their moral standards while being a girl boss. Like, I agree with the criticism when I agree with a lot of Pearl's criticisms when she said, like, how many of you here were virgins on your wedding night? And then people are going like, oh, because like conservative Christian women don't really often stand up to those values they claim to because they're not actually ultimately traditional. But then she defaults to when someone says, what's the solution? She goes, I'm not telling anyone what to do. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're criticizing conservative women because you think they're hypocrites. Fine, fair point. A lot of times they are. And then what does that leave? Mm-hmm. She's critical of women. She's critical of the feminist hypocrisy. She's critical largely of conservatives right now and how they talk about God and all that. And she is an unmarried 26-year-old professional woman running her own business.
Is she trying to get married? I don't even, again, not that I know anything about her personal life.
I think the issue is if she was living in practice this idea of being a traditional mother and a woman, she wouldn't be living that. And so I believe her position is this is the way things are, so this is what we do, much like Fresh and Fit. And that's why I'm not saying she's espousing a feminist message. I'm saying she represents a wave of feminism, and the hopes and dreams of feminists are what I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying, like, it's interesting. It's an interesting point.
Yeah, only except that there's been a time. I mean, there's a whole history of women in power that aren't feminists, and well before the feminist movement, and owned businesses and ran, whatever they ran. They ran the whole country. They ran empires.
If you told a woman in the 70s that there would be, or the 60s, 50s, women if you described Pearl, they'd be like, wow. These feminists would be like, that's the dream. Criticizing the machine, criticizing the hypocrisy of conservative values, even other women, and being a wealthy, successful, independent woman who doesn't have to get married and have kids and like.
And I think a lot of feminism is viewing the world through the framework of, but what are the men doing, right? What do they get to do that we don't get to do? What should we be doing in relationship to the actions they're taking? I mean, it's a very, even though it has the root word feminism, it has female in the name, it's actually very much about men and reacting to them.
Yeah, especially third wave when it's about just, taking down the patriarchy and all
fourth
that.
wave being like, should we let biological men into our club?
Right.
The one thing that I think creates a logical inconsistency for me is Pearl offering up no solutions. Literally, I mean, that was her position, was I'm not telling anyone how to live or to live like me. I'm saying this is just the way things are. And it's like, are you mad about the way things are because you contribute to the way things are?
Yeah.
Even like if you're upset that women are doing certain things that you don't like, that courts favor women, the laws favor women, all of these things are bad, then it's almost paradoxical to be a representation of second wave feminism.
Yeah, aside from the fact that she's got a red-pilled message, I don't know exactly what her, I don't know where she's coming from. I don't know if she's actually considers herself trad or anything other than just, red-pilled, and I think women are whores, which is kind of the long and short of her shtick.
Let's read some more super chats. Pile of Kyle says all rail and marine shipping ports in South Carolina have been shut down all day due to software issues. Saw it on a bunch of signs driving down the state for work. This does not appear to be a cybersecurity issue. Fun. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the industrial control systems that a lot of our machines operate on haven't been updated since the 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, like, hacking into them is easy, to put it mildly. But I do think that they've been rapidly trying to update this infrastructure and make sure that they doesn't fall apart.
But it's like trying to fix a building while you're still working on it, right? Like it's ever expanding, and also you have to go back and maintain it. It's not a job I would want.
I mean, look at the power lines. This is it was a point I heard a long time ago. The power lines. It was a trivia question. What's the oldest operating machine in the United States? The power grid. These power lines were installed, 130 some odd years ago, and we've only done routine maintenance on it. It is the oldest functioning machine that's never been taken down and replaced or restored. There's a fascinating thing with how infrastructure works. In the United States, we invent cell phones. Or I don't know that we invented cell phones here, but we build cell infrastructure, and we invent and pioneer some of the first networks. I believe the first network, it might be the first network with data, was the IDEN network. And famously, we got CDMA, And everyone was super excited over the second generation of cell technology and the speed of communications. And then I believe CDMA was might have been CDMA Plus or something, was the first foray into 3G. 2G we typically refer to a GSM as 2G. And then CDMA was faster. And you could start to get close to like 100 kilobits or something like this. It was crazy. When other countries started building their infrastructure, they skipped the CDMA technology and went straight for, I believe it was called...
GSM.
GSM was 2G.
For international stuff?
So the GSM standard was upgraded to HSPA+, and then HSPA+. So what happens is we build this technology and we're like, look at this great new thing, and it cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. Then a foreign country says, we want to build cell phones here too. So they go to the American firms and they say, what should we build? We see that you guys have 3G. And they go, no, don't build what we have. It took 10 years to build this, the permitting, the contracts. The new thing we're working on is HSP, high-speed packet access. This is going to get you way better speeds, a megabit up and down on your phones. Build this instead. So we wonder why it is internet and cell phone is better in other countries because they built it after us. So I believe for the most part, we've dumped CDMA and now we have a global standard, which is LTE, which is, what do they call it? 3G. It's LTE and now 5G, which is, but it's all basically built off of GSM now. That's like the global standard is what it means. But it's fascinating that we invent this high-speed technology. Very few countries actually adopted it. So when I was in Ukraine, they were like, oh, we're on CDMA. And I'm like, that's so weird. Because every other country was on GSM. And it mattered a lot if you're trying to do live streams in foreign countries. How fun. All right, anyway, enough nerd talk. Let's read some more. Roto-Rooter says, now we know why President Trump has a reputation for not paying his bills. His underlings are all skimming the payments he tells them to make and then invoicing him for reimbursements plus a small fee. Yep. What is that? Joseph says, so long, CDMA. Yeah, it's gone now, isn't it? CDMA, I don't know that we use it anymore. LTE came into play and everyone's like, oh man, my favorite was WiMAX.
What's that?
WiMAX was a short-lived 4G iteration that Sprint launched first, that they said, we have 4G first, fourth generation cell tech. And you could tell them apart because on cell antennas, 3G uses long rectangle and antennas, and WiMAX used drums. I used to do all of this crazy cell tech stuff. And then WiMAX just couldn't go anywhere. Short range, crummy. Nobody wanted it. Sprint, oof, big mistake. Yeah, now 5G is giving people all the conspiracy theories. All right, Joe Hall says, Marine Corps vet here. Marine Corps vet. Maybe my mind might be messed up, but I always says liked venture lows. Thoughts, Tim? I don't know what you mean, sir. Anybody understand?
It is a thought-provoking message. What does he mean?
What does he mean? Sorry, man. Don't know. All right. The Obscene Unicorn says, you missed the opportunity to call your fitness challenge in the Super Chat last night a call to arms. Haha. In the Super Chat last night or Friday night? It must be Friday night, huh? Well, other people called it Fitcast IRL. I didn't make that up. I just said everybody should just get as fit as you can by November. And that's the challenge. Because people are always like, what can I do? And it's like, well, the first thing you can do, the easiest thing you can do without even to think about it is eat right, track your macros, and get fit and get healthy. So I always recommend MyFitnessPal because it'll tell you how much you should eat every day. And that's the fascinating thing because you're like, there's a lot of people like, I don't understand. I eat and, I'm not losing weight and I don't know how much I'm supposed to eat or what I'm supposed to do. It's like you download this app, you put in your age, your weight, what you want to weigh, when you want to weigh it by, and then it gives you a list of the food you need to eat every day. It gives you a chart, and then all you got to do is scan the barcode of the food and don't eat more than it tells you.
Does it pay for it too? Because that's going to be necessary.
Paying for the food?
Yeah, because people aren't able. Yeah, people are unable to buy groceries.
That's true.
These days.
But the good news is with shrinkflation, you'll be like, wow, I had 3 portions of this meal already. True. I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
The Joe Biden diet. Brian Egan says, Tim, why do you so often pick on Dubuque, Iowa? We love you here. I don't pick on Dubuque, Iowa. I highlight Dubuque as the perfect example of quintessential America. when we're not talking about West Coast potheads and New York Democrat failed policies, when we're talking about your average, everyday, red-blooded American, I bring up Dubuque, Iowa, as your quintessentially middle American town. It's the perfect city for it. I've been there a couple times. How fun. All right. Sam Whiter says, shout out to my loving wife, Brittany, who was pregnant with our first child. Even with all this chaos going on in the world, she is the brightest part of my life.
I love
She
super
is, they
sex.
are. He
That's
says.
awesome.
Did you guys see that Argentina Coca-Cola commercial?
No.
Going super viral? It's so I'm assuming it's new. I'll describe it to you, but we'll play it on the after show because wow, I can't believe you haven't seen it. So it's a guy and a woman, and then she walks in the room and she holds up a pregnancy test, and they're like, "Yay!" And then they hug and kiss, and then it blinks, and then they're holding the new baby, and they bought all the stuff, and they're smiling, and then it's like scenes of all of the frustrations. The kid pulls the tablecloth down, knocking all the groceries and all the food on the floor. Then the guy like opens one of his vinyl records, and it's covered in goop. And then he's sitting in his living room trying to work, and the kid's kicking his head, and he's got this look on his face as he's getting hit. And then the wife walks in with a tray of food, puts it down, and looks at him with this look on her face and holds up a pregnancy test. And then he looks forward and starts going, ah, yeah! And then he runs up, and they both smile, and he hugs her. And so for a split second, you think he's going to be frustrated with his kid, but then he's super excited that they're having another one. And then it's like, Coca-Cola is love, is life, or whatever in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, and everyone's praising this amazing marketing from Coca-Cola that they did not put in the United States.
Well, first off, of course they didn't put it in the United
No.
States. The United States doesn't cultivate a family that loves culture, or a culture that loves family.
Right.
But it is interesting because this is, I mean, I remember traveling in Turkey, and at the time, one of my little sisters was very, very, very small, like stroller age, infant in lap kind of thing. And everyone would come up to her and be like, "Oh, she's beautiful," and it's just it's such a different attitude, and I think that's really important for young people right now to know that, like, if you're surrounded by a community that's like, "Hey, having kids is good, and we're excited for you, and we'll be there with you," it's such a different attitude going into something that, of course, is challenging and frustrating, and probably at times not super glamorous or fun, but ultimately, like, it is an important investment in your culture, in your life's future. That's what
That commercial is A++ from Coca-Cola. And we should start a boycott campaign to demand they bring that commercial here.
Yeah.
It's like for a split second you think the guy is like, no, but he's actually super excited and happy that he's having another kid.
I don't imagine that kind of commercial or advertisement is going to be in the United States anytime soon, especially considering the reaction that.
Then I'm gonna make it.
Well, then there you go, Tim.
For Coke. No,
Reaction that Butker got,
no,
right?
no. Okay, Cass Brew.
There you go.
Cass Brew Coffee. If Coke does not make that commercial,
You're doing it.
Give them a time limit.
we will make a very similar one for Cass Brew Coffee. And then the baby will have coffee and we'll be drinking it. And we'll be like that. He was happy because now he can share coffee with his baby.
With the
I think
baby
you could do
drinking.
something like that because a lot of women don't drink coffee during pregnancy. Like the first cup of coffee she has after delivering their baby, you get the shot in the hospital where they're all happy, and he like brings her a cup of Cass Brew coffee. Adorable.
Trevor Ritsky, this is a really good point. He says, honestly, it seems Michael Cohen was the one to sleep with Stormy Daniels rather than Trump. He took a home equity loan to pay off a porn star specifically so his wife wouldn't know, and then he stole money from his employer in order to pay that loan back. I got to agree.
That's hilarious.
And then she was like, I'll just say it was Trump. And he's like, okay, well, leave me out of it. For real, that does actually make a lot more sense. It, like, the story is weird and doesn't add up properly. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the real story, I guess. Our WG5 says, I'm one of the LP delegates from California, flying out tomorrow. Can't wait for this weekend.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Memorial Day weekend, a great choice. This weekend, it's going to be the craziest party ever.
It is going to be wild.
How does it work with tickets? Like,
there's different ticket packages. So there's press passage, of course, and you also have tickets to different events like the different speakers and so forth.
I think I'm pretty sure Luke's going to be there. He'll be joining us.
Luke will be there.
Yeah, Luke will be there joining us for the show.
Clint will be there, of course.
Yes, Clint will be there. I mean, he's running.
He's running.
Is
Right.
he the
Running for
only
vice
VP
president.
candidate?
There are a couple others who seem not to be rather nondescript. Who knows who they are?
Just keep your clothes on, boys.
So it seems
Keep your
Clint is going to
clothes
be
on.
the VP choice.
It looks good.
All right. Michael Mall's press secretary. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think you can't miss this weekend. I mean, I feel like everyone's
huge.
going to be there. Well, it's in D.C., so already all of the D.C. politicos you know and love are probably going to show up.
Right.
Considering Trump said he was going to be there, tons of conservatives are going to be showing up.
Yeah.
This is going to be wild.
It'll be fun.
It's
What a
gonna
party.
be. It's a real great opportunity for the party too.
Oh, yeah. Excellent move. Excellent
They
move.
won't invite you to their party. We'll invite them to ours. There's
There
two
you
ways
go.
to skin a cat.
All right. Aaron says, love the show. Know you aren't a Christian, but how can you overlook over the 2,000 prophecies that have come to pass from the Bible? Read Revelation, check out chapter 18. USA is Babylon. These things will happen. Get your hearts and minds right. Oh, there's more. And I forgot to add, serve Lord Jesus Christ. There it was, the next super chat. Because I've talked to tons of people, even on this show, and one of my favorite subjects, eschatology, and they all have different answers. I mean, no one really knows. So, I don't know what to tell you. I do think we had this really great discussion on the members only show last week about the existence of God. And what I was saying is I think a lot of atheists conflate religion and God instead of the idea that God could exist outside of religion, and that religions just give sort of a quantified rule set, moral structure, and I guess canon around their faith and their religion and why it exists. But even if the Jews are wrong, or the Muslims are wrong, the Christians are wrong, or the Hellenistic Odinists are wrong, or whatever, God could still exist, and everyone could be wrong. So, all right, let's see if we can grab one more real quick. Is this, Dom says, Pearl is the other side of the Hassan Abi coin.
I wouldn't know what that coin is.
Oh, here's a good.
She's smarter than Hassan.
I got to read this one. Dorktanian says Tim's take on Pearl's position to actions is like calling college students Republicans because they vote for representatives. Yes, we are all participants in a Republicanist form of government, and that's why the actions of the modern few are different from what they represent. Like this is my point. The people who are these like college students who actually go out and vote, trying to burn the system down, are still participating in a Republicanist form of government. That doesn't mean they're Republicans, right? Just because they're voting, but in the core sense of the moral philosophy and the government structure, yes, they are. My point about Pearl is that she doesn't have, like Phil was saying, like what is her actual position? She says, I'm not telling anyone how to live. I'm not telling you to live like me. Here's what I think is wrong with the system. And I'm like, okay. So this is, if you were a communist saying, I want to destroy the system and I'm going to vote in ways that destroy it. It's like, okay, I get it. If you said, I'm a conservative woman and I'm going to be hosting a show so I can burn it all to the ground and weaponize the system against it, I get it. If you say, I don't have a position, no one should live like me, I'm just going to call out these women, I say, this is a feminist disposition criticizing hypocrisy in conservative Christian women, as well as many modern third and fourth wave feminists. Yeah. So it's a second wave nondescript feminist in practice, targeting the hypocrisies of modern feminism and the failures of conservative Christian women. So we're going to go to the members only call-in show. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you really do like it, because that's the most powerful way to help. But head over to timcast.com, click join us if you want to listen to the members only call-in show. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Will be a lot of fun. You can follow the show at Timcast on X and Instagram. You can also follow Timcast IRL on Rumble. Subscribe to this channel. Dr. Rectenwald, do you want to shout anything out?
Yes. So, yes, this weekend, D.C., the Libertarian Party Convention, come by, join us, and get involved with our thoughts, with our philosophy, get to know who we are. And go to wrecktheregime.com. That's my website, rectheregime.com. It's time to wreck the regime. Let's go.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check us out this summer on the Destroy All Enemies tour with Megadeth and Mudvayne. You can check out our new single Divine on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Deezer, I think it's called, the internet. Anyways, don't forget the left lane is for crime.
What's the right lane for?
Travel.
Oh, interesting.
Slower traffic, keep right.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimmel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. I'm really grateful to be a part of that team. Follow all of their work at Timcast News. Give them all follows. They're great. I'm Hannah Claire .b on Instagram. I'm Hannah Claire B on Twitter and everywhere else. And yeah, that's it. Bye, Serge.
See you later, Hannah Claire. See you, everybody. Let's get out of here.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.